Ecuadorian government feels that China is only one state, and a state that's designated by its name in the Charter of the UN. That's why we think even that if we have good diplomatic relations with the government of Taiwan, we consider this the question of representation in the UN a different question of bilateral relations, and we will favor with the presence of People's Republic of China in the UN. And that's in interest, I think, of the UN and of the peace of mankind.
I'm trying to get across to them that they need to unite and get together, because what they have here in my travels all over the world, and I say that, without reservation, I have yet to see what they have here. And my understanding as far as why they are trying to destroy it, I just can't get that together in my mind. It doesn't make sense, because if they didn't have this, what would they have?
What would you call this violence?
Ignorance. That sums it up in one word: ignorance. Because, I say that in this sense. That old saying, that old cliche they used to use, you can't see the forest for the trees if you never get out and look in. And that's what's happening here, I believe. The people just don't have any idea or any concept of what's going on around the world. Naturally, they're concerned with what's going on here, but evidently their concern can't be that intense or that in-depth, because if it was, they wouldn't destroy this.
Well, we find in our business that people trade upon anything and everything, from the most personal possessions such as a artificial limb to false teeth or eyeglasses. But of course, those are items that we will not accept, nor will we accept any personal item that could possibly communicate a disease. So anything that's touched by hands, I would say we'll accept, but anything that has the mouth or nose or ears to it, we will not accept.
Well, this morning the black students, out of frustration, tore up the student union building today because of what came down Friday with a meeting with the administration. The black students are fed up with the racism that's going on this campus out here, and they just took it out by the only means it seemed like the white people understand, and that's violence.
Do you condone what happened here this morning?
Well, I don't know whether I condone it or not, but I'm with my people, whichever way that is,
Where do you go from here?
Well, we're having a meeting this evening with the administration to see where they're going to go, because right now it's up to them to get the situation out on campus squared away.
You don't advocate violence on the campus, do you?
Well, we don't advocate violence, but seems like I said, this is the only thing that's understood. The black students been trying for years out here on the campus to get a change, and the administration has been ignoring them all these years. Brothers have been off the service to fight, and they come back out to TCJC and no changes are made whatsoever. And this thing that came down today is just out of frustration of what's been coming down all along out here at TCJC.
How do you rate the city of Dallas in comparison with the other cities that fall within your regional OEO office?
Where would I put it on a scale? Let me put it that way. In our five-state region, Don, we have some 13 cities that we call metro cities. I would have to put Dallas in the lower half of the metro cities, in my opinion.
Why?
Well, of course, the first thing that pops into mind, of course, is the dissension on the board, the lack of board action, the lack of board meetings, the lack of cooperation on the board. A morale factor that must be taken into consideration, where a large number, I can't think of the number right now, but a large number of the people who work for the Community Action Agency signed a petition asking that the chairman of the board be removed. I think the Dallas Community Action Agency has focused its attention on service operations, service program operation, neighborhood centers, daycare centers, and things like that, where we have other agencies that are actually out helping people to actually quit being poor. We're in business not to make people happy while they're poor, but to get out of poverty. And frankly, personally, I don't see enough of this in the Dallas Community Action Agency, in the programs that they're conducting.
Is it in danger of losing its funding? Are you considering taking your money elsewhere?
Yes, sir.
Tricia, who? No, I'm sure, much more wonderful than she ever felt.
Exactly what's gone wrong today?
Well, besides the rain,
Starting with the organist, maybe?
yes, the organist quitting.
Or the numbers.
But Mark Franklin, Marilyn Mays' musical director, just called, and he's going to come and do the whole show, so that's good too.
Are we going to be ready in time for the wedding?
I am. I mean, rain,
The wedding
shine,
will
or
go
what?
on, yes.
Yes.
Regardless, if all the falderall and filigree isn't done, we'll still have the wedding at that precise time, yes.
The theme of the wedding is the student prince. Why that?
Well, it's kind of interesting. It was a romantic sort of thing. It was a sentence, I guess, when you break it all down, that I said to Lee in the 2 years that I did the show. Lee was with me and always was backstage waiting or in the audience watching. And I was always in love with Joy Franz, who is here at the wedding, by the way, my leading lady, the barmaid in the show, and ended up marrying a princess. And I one time said to her, darling, when we get married, I'm going to make you a princess. And I'm not a prince, except in the show, but we're taking on the attitude, you can only do something like this in Texas.
You are going to be in different attire for the wedding.
Oh, I hope so.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, you better go get ready.
One would be that we could maybe monitor some of the programs instead of boycotting. You know, maybe you don't buy Prel. That doesn't cut any ice. We think we can discuss it with advertisers, the people that make the ads, and the people that watch it. I think women at home can monitor these programs and say what we find objectionable and give them an idea of what wouldn't be so insulting, we think. In employment, there are 2 or 3 aims of that. But I think, for one thing, that there is a much more creative use of part-time jobs. There are many women I know that are highly motivated and educated, but they feel that they should be home when their kids come home from school, that they have other commitments they should make. I think we can find and locate employers that would be willing to have two people doing a job, or that you could have a much more creative use of part-time jobs. There are women that did things here for me, getting this thing going. They could do that publicity for another company. They might run meetings, courses, a lot of things that would be paid. I think most women think in terms of, selling handkerchiefs at Mammoth's or something. And there would be a better use of that.
It's not in the house yet, on the porch, and maybe a couple of feet. You look at the tractor down there, just barely up to the motor on the tractor or the bottom of it.
You just almost drive out there.
The floor that we could get up, and the water's just to the porch.
Are you fearful for your belongings?
Well, the fireman said that it wasn't going to get any higher, they didn't think.
Well, it's not very deep. It's not in the house, just up on the porch.
Well, it got in the house before.
Blabbermouth.
What made you decide to come out?
Mrs. Lemon called us and told us that it was flooding and to come on out.
Well, what's the need of sitting in there, looking at it? Didn't have one can of beer.
How did you get in?
We drove in. It wasn't this high then.
What's your first name?
Everything floating around over the floor. My son's trying to pick things up and get it up out of the water. And I started picking up my chairs that I didn't want ruined and things like that and stacking them up where they wouldn't get wet and ruined.
What does your house look like inside now?
Muddy mess. Well, it's pretty discouraging, but like I told them, it's paid for, and I'm a widow woman, and I have a hard time making a living, and I got to stick it out, so I can't sell it and move out. I got to clean mud out and go back in.
Well, the way I feel about it, the quicker we get these Republicans out of the party, the better off we are. And if that shoe fits anyone, whoever that shoe fits, let them get out. Because I know good and well that we've got enough good yellow dog Democrats in this state to carry this state for Barefoot Sanders and to carry it for the Democratic presidential nominee, regardless who he may be.
Well, this is just my second season here now. I signed in 1970 out of college, 1 year of college. And I was fortunate I didn't have to go to the rookie league or the lower A league. I started out in the Carolina League. This year I went to the Eastern League in Denver, and now I'm up here.
Well, of course, I suppose your views on the transfer of the franchise would be a little different than guys who spent a great portion of their career here.
Yeah, right. I haven't been here, and I imagine for the older fellas like Frank Howard, he spent almost his entire career here, 7 years, and a lot of the guys that have their children here are in school, you know, and they have their homes and everything. They're gonna have to pick up and leave. But as for myself, being single and everything, I'll go wherever Mr. Short goes. He's my boss, and I'll play wherever he wants me to play.
You know, Dallas isn't a bad town for a single guy.
That's what I heard.
Oh, you've already heard that?
I've seen those Texas bells on the football games and everything. So imagine this. I heard it's quite a town, the whole general area there.
We are delighted that Neil Hospers will continue to manage the operation of the Worth. We feel that he is one of the nation's outstanding hotel executives, and we are confident he will provide the type of management that will enable the hotels to continue its long history of quality service to the community.
The rains dumped a total of nearly 3 inches of water on the city and sent public works crews scurrying to low-level underpasses and streets. Fire department crews were also called out and ready to start plucking residents from their flooded houses to dry land. But contrary to expectations, only about 300 homes were affected in Dallas. A levee break south on Central Expressway did catch 2 women in a house owned by Mrs. Corrine Lemon and lived in by Mrs. Linda Patrick. Another woman who was a homebody too long for comfort was Mrs. Mildred Baker, who lives at Hahn Freeway and Jordan Road. Mrs. Baker was at work when she heard about the flood hitting her home.
Well, we're in the process of seeking a temporary restraining order as against those who took part. We have started already a very intense investigation as to what happened and how, and of course disciplinary proceedings will be followed, because I think the country as a whole is kind of sick at heart at violence and destruction as a method of getting attention.
Well, there was certainly interest in the paper and appreciation that it was put together. 9 of the 10 cities on the executive committee were there. And we passed a resolution as a result of the paper and the fact that it was brought up. Now, it wasn't the full resolution which I had hoped for, which would have involved a support for the Brock Amendment, but it did contain the major point that there are alternative methods to bring about desegregation than simply busing alone.
What are these?
Well, that's not in the resolution, but they would be illustrated, of course, by some of the Dallas Plan, television, the bringing together of students for educational projects from different neighborhoods, the use of magnet schools where you have special programs, and certainly they can be integration-oriented as such.
Well, if this doesn't tie the knot, no. Twice married,
Twice done.
It
has begun.
Thank you.
When the jet hit the guardrail and turned up on its right side, is this where the fatal injury to Gene Thomas occurred?
I would think so. Art says that he veered to the left, and at this time, this put the guardrail on Gene's side. And I'd say that this is where it happened.
Now, a man like Art Arfons, this was his last race. He was going to quit. Must he now build another racer and prove he can run safely?
I don't think Art will ever race again. In fact, he had planned on retiring after this 300-mile-an-hour run.
What will this do to his plans, though? Mustn't he prove something to himself and to others?
I stated previously that I think that the man would be lucky if he doesn't end up in a mental institution.
You really believe that?
Yes, sir.
Is he that torn by this accident?
Horrible.
Sir?
Horrible.
A number of things have happened. First and foremost, the Russians have a sort of pronounced military superiority of the United States, and one of the you let this increase, and this can cause all kinds of problems. Secondly, the Japanese can be involved in wars with China, for example, and this is not all we can do for 1980 or 85.
Is this something that you feel we should almost look forward to?
No. I think the probability is quite low. But even a low probability of thermonuclear war is disturbing.
Do you think we'll just frighten ourselves out of it?
Well, that's one of the problems. I don't think fright is a very good motivation here or guide to action. One of the reasons why we think that the nuclear war is more likely is people are getting kind of careless on how they think about it. And when they think about it all, it's generally from fright rather than policy.